Hello folks, this is David Hurley of EasyChessTips.com, your pub chess bluffer, reporting to you on a sunny Saturday lunchtime, 16th of January 2021. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the second 10 variations 11 to 20, of my 1d4 opening repertoire mnemonic memory system. There are 184 variations in all. And in this challenge, I'm trying to remember numbers 11 to 20. They take us through the last part of the Queen's Gambit declined and through the first part of the Queen's Gambit accepted. And the first one, number 11, the key word is TT. The easiest thing to remember there is tot. Or perhaps something else if we put an I in the middle of the word. Let us begin with 1d4. It is the Queen's Gambit declined, and so once you know what that is, the first moves don't really require a memory system at all. What happens next? In this one, the next move is, it's called the Hennig-Schara Gambit. It helps me to remember it as the hentai Schenig, bearing in mind my keyword for this is tit, and we shall see how that plays in a moment. The hentai Hennig gets in like so, bringing out our bare-breasted queen. That instantly attracts old Monty, who likes to have a look at a bare-breasted queen every now and then, causing her modestly to retreat back into her chamber. What happens next? What happens next is there's a pawn grab, and that enrages our bare-breasted Amazon, and she comes out to dominate the board. We can also imagine her in tights, TT. Adding an S makes it a bit impure because that could be actually 110. But still, if you imagine our bare-breasted queen running up the corridor in tights to get in tight with the two knights, that may also help. But anyway, that is the variation as far as we're remembering it for the memory system. The Hennig-Schara Gambit. d4, d5, c4, e6, knight to c3, c5, c takes. What happens next? Oh, yes, that's the unusual thing. So it's usually c takes d5, e takes d5, but here it's c takes d5, c takes d4. Then the queen comes in. Then the knight comes out. Then the queen goes home. E takes d5, queen takes d5. That is the Hennig-Schara Gambit. We come to number 12, which is the Tun. Number 2 is N, so the Tun, T-U-N. Later on, we switch to T-O-N. It is the queen who weighs a ton on the center of the board. This is the Austrian. And here we have a ton, or a barrel of pawns, or prawns, if you like. Then we have this exchange. The knight comes in here. We get e4, which the knight can just grab. Then we have this here, bringing out our knight here. We have the e6 move. Knight comes out here. And then we have the queen weighing a ton in the middle of the board. A rather similar look to it to the Hennig-Schara that we just saw. We can imagine her, when I set up this memory system, I imagine the queen as a kind of Panzer tank bearing down on the middle of the board, weighing a ton. Okay, so that is the Austrian. We then move on to number 13, which is the Tim. T Noah May. 13 is a Tutna M. And those of you who live in Hiroshima may remember our friend Tim in his glory days, who had a reputation of being something of a tipple of the nappy ale, especially at happy hour. And here comes happy hour, and here comes our Tim racing to the bar at happy hour. This is called, what's it called? It's a Ragozin Nimzo sort of mixture. And this is the Nimzo Indian style bishop move. Tim gets to the bar and exchanges drinks with the good knight here. And hearing that Tim is in the bar, another of the lads comes out, old Nelson, and that attracts Nobunaga. Now, this is a boys' night out only. So it's only the male members, so to speak, who will be joining us tonight. We then get E3, and then C5, which we remember as not being C6, but C5, as Tim has already seen 5 beers go down the hatch. When that happens, out comes another of the male members. This is old Pope Boniface. He joins us in the bar. And then that brings out old Monty. Now, Monty is a teetotaler, but he is one of the lads, you know. He'll come out and do his own thing. And that brings out good old Falstaff, the last of the merry chaps. And you will notice that Lady Godiva and the 2 Eleanors have stayed at home. That is the Ragozin Tim. Where's it gone? The Ragozin Tim. Yes. I didn't show you the Austrian. There is the Austrian. The ton, the 4 pawns in a ton, and the 3 white knights and the queen pans are weighing a ton in the middle. And then we have the Ragozin Tim. Come on. The Ragozin Nimzo Indian style Tim. D4, D5, C4, E6, knight C3. Here comes the bishop. They have that exchange of beer. Brings out the bishop and the knight. Then E3, then C5. Tim drinks 5. Then out comes the bishop. Out comes the knight. And then the last knight to E2. And that is that. We then get on to the tower. 14 is the tower. And in this one, we're still in the Queen's Gambit declined. I imagine a kind of tower building contest on the sea coast of England, but the French also join in, as we will see. So we have the Queen's Gambit declined, and we're going to build our first tower in Bexhill. What happens next? So with that news interests old Falstaff, because he lives in Gad's Hill, so it's not that far to ride down to Bexhill and check out this tower. It's an important little note because usually at this point there's the E3 move. But we remember with this little detail of Falstaff being curious to find out about this Tower of Bexhill, funded by Lady Godiva, that reminds us not to move the E3 pawn when we get this B6 move here. Okay, what happens next? Next, we have the good old exchange. And then, perhaps a surprising move, and I believe it's now, out comes the pawn to E4. And it is gobbled up by the D5 pawn. Here, this knight doesn't take. Obviously, it doesn't take because the bishop would come down. Instead, old Falstaff carries on, getting closer to Bexhill to have a look at what's going on. The French erect a rival tower in Dijon, and that brings out the final great tower at G4, which for this variation I'm calling Great Yarmouth, GR, Great Yarmouth, for this square here. So we have a great Queen Tower in Great Yarmouth, and that, I believe, is that for this variation. Here it is, the Tower of Bexhill. D4, D5, C4, E6, Knight C3, B6, Knight to f3, that's Falstaff coming out. Then the bishop goes there. It's called the Alapin. Then there's the exchange. Then there's that e4 move, d takes e4, knight to e5, bishop to d6, and the queen, the Tower of Great Yarmouth, comes out there. That is the tower. Okay, on we go. Tower, that's 14. We come to 15, which is the tail. TL, 5 is L, Tina, May, Ray, Law, the tail. We are still in the Queen's Gambit declined. And in this variation, it's the A6 variation. Excuse me, a tale of Axminster. I actually call it the Knight's Tale of Axminster. There is also a Bishop's War in this one. What happens next? What does happen next in this? Well, I suppose there is the good old exchange. And that will bring out what happens next. Is it the knight who comes out? I'm a bit rusty on this one. Now here is the tail. It's this structure here. It's the knight's tail, a very nice long knight's tail. And that brings the bish out to here and this bishop here. We then get the Bishop's War. And the queen comes in. And then we get this nice little e4 move here. And that, I think, is the end of the tale, so to speak. Gosh, let's see. The tail. The tail. Did I get it completely right? d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, a6, the exchange, knight comes out to f3, c6 makes the tail, bishop to f4, bishop d3, the bishop exchange, and then we have e4. Okay, that is the tail. 16. What is 16? 16 is the tash, as in a moustache. Later on, I gave it the name of the Doge. So we've got t or d, and then j. Could also be ch or sh for number 6. It's probably easiest to remember as a moustache contest, a tash contest. We're still in the Queen's Gambit declined. Now we will see a marvellous moustache formation. Here it is, the tash, the black tash. The black tash. And when the tash is formed, old Nelson comes out to have a look at the tash. It is actually the knight's tash. And in this variation, the knight and the bishop kind of have a tash contest. This is Nobunaga's tash. You see, a rather fine tash. But Nelson, not to be outdone, says, well, look at my fine tash. I can grow a marvellous tash here. And that's it. Nice and easy. The tash. Or the Doge. Oh yeah, in the other version I think I was probably forgetting that this bishop comes here, so I called it the Doge. And then I imagine that the Doge comes to Forlì. F4 in my square memory system is Forlì, the Italian town in Emilia-Romagna. Anyway, tash is probably the easiest way to remember. So d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, f5 makes the tash, bishop comes out, knight comes out, and e3. There we go. Nice, short and easy setup. So the tash. That brings us to the end of the Queen's Gambit declined, and now with the tack, number 17, tack, we have the Queen's Gambit accepted. Imagine you're pushing a tack into a board, just like so. Push that tack in. And in the tack, we get this variation here. It's quite a short variation. What do we do next? Oh yeah, we open up our attack on the tack. We're attacking the tack. And so the bishop comes out to defend that tack, at which point we bring out the knight. And we have this little move here. And then, if that move has gone ahead, we can move our knight here. An alternative is h6, in which case we move our knight to e5. We're attacking this bishop. We want to get rid of the bishop. And then, whether the queen moves to here, or the queen moves to here, or the bishop moves to here, or perhaps almost any other move, except h6, we advance. Did I make a move? I didn't. Okay, let's make a token move. Here we go. So in this one, we have a variation of moves which all lead to us putting in this e4 move. This is the first of the Queen's Gambit accepted. It's called the tack. Queen's Gambit accepted. d4, d5, c4. There's the d takes c4. Knight to f3, knight to f6, e3, b to e6, knight c3, c6. Knight g5, e4. White knight attacks the Bishop of Essex. After that, anything else, b takes d, bishop takes c4. Oh right, hang on, where are we? Knight to g5, queen d7, queen c8, or bishop d5 leads to e4. That is the first of the Queen's Gambit accepted variations, the tack. The next one, Lord your key fee, is the Toffee. And the Toffee actually is a little story about Lady Godiva going to Avalon to buy some toffees. But also, toffees tend to melt in the heat. And in the heat of white's response, black's toffees tend to melt away. These black toffees over here. How does it happen? We get this move, we get our standard response here, and then we get the a-sick Toffee. O Toffee, thou art sick. A-sick Toffee. What do we do next? That's too far. We put in the e3 move, attacking this pawn here. We're going to try and get it back. Black now defends. So here we have a nice Toffee fortress, but it's going to melt away. We bring up our pawn here. Lady Godiva heads via Bexhill towards Avalon. We now begin to break down the Toffee, melting the toffees, and we have this exchange here. Lady Godiva goes to Avalon to buy some toffee, and the final melting of these dripping toffees here is the b3 move. What it means is that at some stage, white will get back the pawn. That was 18. 18, Toffee. d4, d5, c4, d takes c4. So yes, how a sick Toffee melts. Lady Godiva goes to Avalon. Knight to f3, a6, e3, b5, a4, b7, the a exchange, the rook exchange, the bishop takes the rook, sending Lady Godiva to Avalon, and then the b3 move. That is Toffee. Okay, we're on to number 19, and number 9 is P. So 19 is tap, and I call this one the tap trap. I don't know if it will ever, I've never experienced it on the board, but it's good to know. Here we go. Our standard response to the Queen's Gambit accepted. Then we get this attack down here. All you need to do is that little e3 move, stay calm, and we're going to trigger the tap trap. It's like turning on a very nice tap, sends a hose of ice cold water into the face of the king. Greedy, greedy. We take the exchange. Greedy, greedy black grabs an extra pawn, feeling happy with life. Can you see what the trap is? Black has practically lost this game. All you do is take this nice little pawn and say check. that is the end of our variation. That's all you have to remember in this variation, the tap trap. But just to show you what happens when the king takes, bye-bye queen. And then black needs to protect his bishop. Perhaps the best way to protect the bishop is to come over here. Then our queen can simply skip away, maybe put in another check, or just go back home or do something. But anyway, it's a nice way to win a queen for a bishop and completely disrupt black's position. So that is the tap. We come on now to the last one, which is rather a complex little number. It's called, it's number 20, and that's T Noah, N for the 2, and a 0 is S or Z. So I use a couple of words to remember this. One is nose, and the other one is noose. And it's in fact the noose which comes in first, and then we build a big nose after the noose has been pulled and tightened around Lady Godiva's neck. So what happens in this is Lady Godiva goes shopping. I think Lady Godiva goes to Gero Onsen. She goes shopping, or she goes bathing in Gero Onsen, and she falls into a trap. A noose. A noose is cast about her. Anyway, what is it? This is the Queen's Gambit accepted. And Lady Godiva goes to Geralt. When Lady Godiva goes to Geralt, she gets into a bit of trouble. A noose will be placed around her. She moves away. What do we do next? We're not going to move that pawn, otherwise we'll lose a queen. What we do next, wait a minute, is... do we immediately attack? I think there may be an intermediate move I'm missing here. Is there something in the story that I'm missing? Oh yeah, I think we just pop our knight out there, an intermediate move. We then get this move. Then we attack. The noose is tightening around Lady Godiva. Look at this. The noose is tightening. So to try and relieve the pressure, a little air hole is given and the knight is attacked. Old Falstaff comes under attack. However, he doesn't do anything yet because we have this nice little check on the king. It's blocked here. The queen now picks up this pawn. So we've now got back our pawn. Remember, this is the Queen's Gambit accepted. We've got back our pawn. Wait a minute, Jumban. Tell the story properly. If we do it that way around, it's the wrong order, and poor old Falstaff is killed off before he can put the noose around Lady Godiva's neck. So that's the end of Lady Godiva and the story of the noose, and we're now building a big nose here. And it's now that the queen nobbles that pawn. Here is a nice unprotected pawn, and the king pops into this niche to protect the pawn, at which point we get in our e4 move. Now, the nose, here are the nostrils, nostril 1, nostril 2, and the bridge of the nose. It's rather a fat and pudgy nose, but if you draw, let's draw the nose. Okay, here we go. A nose. It's Red Nose Day. Oh, there we go. That is a nose. There's nothing else you may be thinking. It's a nose. There we are. A nose. And that, my friends, is the second 10 variations of my 1d4 opening repertoire. Oh yeah, I've got to actually prove that I got that one right. So the tap. Did I show you the tap? d4, d5, c4, d takes, knight c3, c5, e3, c takes d4, bishop takes e4, the greedy pawn grab, and then bishop takes f7. That was the trap. Sorry, I forgot to show you that. And then we have the nose. Again, in the Queen's Gambit accepted, d4, d5, c4, d takes c4, knight to f3, bishop, that's Lady Godiva going shopping in Geralt. Knight to e5, bishop to h5, knight to c3, the little intermediate move, e6, g4, starting to attack the queen. She goes back, sorry, the bishop. Bishop to g6, h4, putting that lasso or the noose, sorry, around the neck of the bishop. Then we have f6 attacking the knight on where's that knight? Wherever he is, g5, sorry, e5. Queen comes out to a4 to check the king. We get the c6 move blocking that. Now the knight takes Lady Godiva on g6. H pawn takes the knight, and the queen takes that c pawn. The king goes into that cubby hole to protect the e6 pawn. Then move number 11 is e4. And that is that. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that, the second 10 of my memory repertoire. I've got stuck with a red pencil there. Let's get rid of it and say goodbye from me, David Hurley of EasyChessTips.com, your pub chess bluffer.